Oh, what's up, everybody? It's Oliver the Wolf Guy, and we're into Thursday of Wolf Awareness Week. Today I am out here with two different animals. It's always different animals. I try to mix it up quite a bit. So today I've got Sunny, whose real name is Siquiniq, S-I-Q-I-N-I-Q, for those that are curious. And that means sun in Inuktitut. And with Nunaryuk, who I call Noonie. And Nunaryuk means of the land or earth, also in Inuktitut. Sunny is one of my two yearling females. She's April of last year pup. And then Noonie here is April of this year male pup. And he's going to be a handful. He's already bigger than his yearling sister. And he's just getting started on putting on real size. And we're out here in the woods near my property. We take everybody out for patrols as much as we can. And we try to move them on here from various stuff. How about you leave that? That looks kind of icky. Come on, let's go this way. Who cares about that? It's toilet paper or something. Come on, we're gonna go this way. Come here. Come on. They're getting in a little wrestling match over something they found on the trail. Come on, hey. Oh, gotta get them redirected. So we typically go out at the time of day when it'd be natural for wolves to be more active, which is either early in the morning or into the evening and into dark. What are you munching on? Let me see. Don't eat paper, damn it. He can still take stuff out of his mouth. When I do that with Iquiniq, I get bit up. So the terminology for that actually is crepuscular, and what that means is animals that are active at the changing hours of the day, although wolves can be active at any time of day or night. In the summertime, when it's hot, they tend to be largely inactive during the heat of the day. They see very well at night. So there's nothing that prevents them from hunting or doing other things in the dark. They see a lot better than we do. Right now, they're exploring this giant burnout western red cedar that's still alive. It's an absolutely huge tree, as you can tell. And it's always interesting in here because I think it's just a space that animals are always curious. My animals always stop in here to have a good sniff. But today, for Wolf Awareness Week, I want to talk about one of the really, really important ecological roles that wolves play, and talk about why today more than ever their recovery is imperative. There is an unstoppable, and I'm not kidding when I say unstoppable, an unstoppable plague spreading across the United States. A lot of people call it zombie deer disease, and you may have even seen videos of deers that like jump up and flip over and land on their backs, or otherwise act very odd. This disease also impacts elk, and it's technically known as chronic wasting disease, and it's what they call a prion disease. Prions are misfolded proteins. We still know relatively little about them. In the late 80s, there was an epidemic of what they called bovine spongiform encephalitis, which is another variant of chronic wasting disease. And there's a human variant as well, which is called Creutzfeldt-Jakob. And we know that the bovine form, which is also called mad cow, is transmissible to humans. At least 120 people have died from eating infected beef. And as a result of the BSE infection in the UK, they killed over 4 million head of cattle. And the variant that impacts elk and deer has now been found in almost every state, including California. Some counties in Wisconsin have such high infection rates that upwards of 74% of the animals tested are positive. It is incurable, untreatable, and it's such a bizarre disease that we don't even know how to treat infected places. It appears that the origin of the deer-borne version of this particular infection was a USDA research facility studying deer outside of Fort Collins, Colorado, and they could not sterilize the facility. They couldn't even sterilize the ground after, I believe, that they incinerated the facility. And unfortunately, it seems like, come on, let's go this way. Unfortunately, it appears that the disease escaped the facility, and now our guys are experiencing some bare daybeds, which have certainly got some interesting smells. I'm hoping I don't have them rolling in bear poop. Come on, let's go this way. Sonny, Noonie. Noonie is on the wrong side of a tree. Oh, hey, you guys, I can't fix this if you're both pulling me towards the tree. Come here. Come on, let's go this way. Come on. Noonie's gonna wrap. Noonie's gonna wrap the tree. I knew it. Just the right side. Make this hard. All right. Okay, good. We got that sorted. All right, so as I was saying, this disease started spreading, is now becoming endemic. It has a very long latency period, and the problem is that infected animals, and this is why it's such a problematic disease, is that infected animals will transmit the disease via droppings into the soil. It then grows in the plants, and then animals that feed on the infected plants themselves become infected. It's got a crazy long life, half-life in the soil. Like, we don't even know how long. It doesn't seem that high temperature does anything to it. It's not a virus. It's a misfolded protein, and that's how that becomes infectious is not very well understood. Come on, Sonny. But here's where wolves come in. So one of the only ways to reduce the spread of this disease is to eliminate animals that are infected earlier, so it prevents them from having a high load of the prions, which makes them more infectious. And we don't have a good means of identifying this disease until very late in the development of the disease, when the animals are really obviously impaired. And certainly humans aren't inclined to shoot, kill, and eat something that looks like it's on their last legs already. It's unsuitable for a trophy. It's unsuitable for meat. And wolves, on the other hand, are super keen to take out the infirm, unwell, ailing, and foundering animals. And so they have the ability, far before the symptoms are visible to humans, to identify infected deer and elk, and they preferentially kill them. And whether it's because wolves don't live long enough for the disease to impact them, or because their biology is so different that they're not infected with disease, or because their digestive tract is so caustic, but for whatever reason, they don't appear to contract chronic wasting disease. And what's fascinating about this is that there's been some studies, and there's continuing to be more studies, but in Wisconsin, where, as I said, some counties tested animals are found positive at the rate of 74%, which is crazy high. I mean, it almost means that safely hunting deer is almost an impossibility there, certainly if you intend to consume the meat. But the counties that have high wolf populations, the infection rate based on surveillance testing is like 26%. Whereas in the counties that have few or no wolves, the infection rate is 74%. And that just shows you the impact that apex predators can have on helping to control the spread of a disease. And there's more bad news. So it had been thought that it was unlikely that this disease could jump across such a broad species gap as humans, from elk or deer to humans. However, in Wisconsin, 2 men from the same deer hunting lodge recently died of the human variant of Creutzfeldt-Jakob, or that's what it's called in humans, or chronic wasting disease. And here's the thing, like, this is in the human population, CJ disease, CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, is like a Dr. House level rare disease. There was a time about 30 years ago where they were deriving growth hormone from the cadavers, from the pituitary glands of cadavers, a product called GRORM, GRORM, I believe. And there was cases that could be attributed to the use of that product. With respect to the bovine spongiform encephalitis form, they believe that was caused because they were feeding cattle to cattle. They were, ground up meat byproducts and things were being added to cattle feed, and that caused that illness. There's a variant in sheep called scrapie, SCRAPIE, also one of these diseases that resulted in a mass sheep cull. And so we know it could be transmitted from domestic livestock to people in that variant, but it was thought that this deer-borne variant did not jump. But there's no other reasonable explanation for how these 2 men, with nothing else in common but eating deer meat from the same location where deer have a high infection rate, both died of this disease. And so it's certainly plausible, though not absolutely confirmed, but I would say highly likely. And epidemiologists with expertise in prion diseases have agreed with me that it's highly likely that they contracted chronic wasting disease, human variant, from eating infected meat, which should be very troubling if you're a person that enjoys hunting and eating wild game. And there's even more bad news. So the same epidemiologists that have agreed with me that that is a plausible scenario also agree that it's only a matter of time before the livestock grazed on public lands, or private lands for that matter, but grazed in the woods, in places where they're interacting with infected ungulate deer and elk populations, that this variant makes the jump into our domestic livestock again. And that could represent an existential threat to the beef industry. So you would think, given those factors, that both the hunting community and the ranching community would want to see wolf recovery as broadly as possible. because if there's just one case diagnosed of chronic wasting disease in domestic livestock, that'll do more damage to the industry than 100,000 wolves in the lower 48. I mean, the cost of surveillance and the amount of culling of viable animals that have become exposed and infected would be easily in the hundreds of millions. It could represent complete upheaval to the industry. I mean, potentially it could end it. I mean, it could potentially, if the infective rates got high enough, it would be impossible to graze livestock. And because those livestock are finished on feedlots where those animals are in close proximity, I mean, you can just imagine. I mean, if they had to get rid of 4.1 million cattle in just the UK, just imagine what that looks like in the United States, where there's 100 million or more head of cattle that could potentially be exposed and have to be removed from the food supply. And if you're a hunter, you know, like, you want the healthiest game herds possible. And the things that are responsible for transmission of this disease are animals that are in too close proximity and animals that are carrying the disease and aren't removed from the population soon enough through predation. And so you would, like I said, you would think that based on that information, that people who care about, come on, let's not roll. Oh, you've been a little grumpy with your little brother, huh? Or your future boyfriend. He's kind of a bitchy pants today. A little spicy. Snapping him a few times here. He's just a little boy, even though he's bigger than you. He's still got a puppy brain. So that's this unstoppable plague, and I'm doing my best to educate people and try to get them to understand that the job that wolves are capable of doing, and incidentally, mountain lions appear to also do a pretty good job of reducing the incidence of this disease in areas where they exist in numbers sufficient to exert real predation control on game populations. Super valuable. It's just another one of the reasons why we need predation to maintain healthy ecosystems, and particularly when you have out of balance ecosystems, and especially where those ecosystems have the intersection of domestic livestock and wildlife. You really want predators to be out there cleaning stuff up. They really serve our interests far more than they oppose them. And the trivial cost represented by the minuscule losses associated with wolf depredation on livestock is just, it's truly nothing in comparison to the cost that will incur the minute that this disease jumps. And if it can jump from ungulates to people, it could jump from wild to domestic hoofstock. I mean, it's just totally plausible. I mean, people that know a lot more about this stuff than me agree that it's not only plausible, but perhaps a foregone conclusion if we don't reduce the incidence of that disease. So, chalk up another benefit to having wolves on the landscape. I hope this particular Wolf Awareness Week talk was interesting and useful. And as always, if you have more comments, questions, ideas, thoughts, please comment. I'll get back to you. And finally, of course, the obligatory plug. If you like my content and want to support me, subscribe, like. I'm about to launch some membership options. I just qualified to be a YouTube partner, and we'll be setting that up over the next few days. So if you really want to support me, you could join. And we'll have some really cool perks, including, like, I'll be sending folks nice high resolution images of our animals and other kind of cool stuff. We'll also be launching a little bit of fun merch. And finally, I got 2 books coming out. They'll be available on Amazon just for Christmas if things go well. The first is for grown-ups, called The Wolf Lover's Guide to Raising Dogs. This is a book about how to transform your relationship with your canine companions based upon the new knowledge of the underlying behavior of wolves and leveraging my 40 years of experience working with wolves, wolf dogs, and primitive dogs. This is not a dog training book. It's a book about how to adapt your relationships so that you have the best possible life and that you're offering your canine companions the best, most interesting, and happy and long life that you can. And finally, super excited about this because I love children's books. It was a children's book my mom read me when I was about 4 called A Wolf of My Own that set me on my wolf path. And so I've got a wolf book, children's wolf book coming out called The Little Malamute Raised by Wolves. That is a pro-wolf, anti-bullying story, beautifully illustrated by a friend of mine. And again, will be available on all platforms around Christmas. We'll probably be set up to take pre-orders here in the next 4 weeks or so, maybe sooner. We'll do our best. Anyway, that's it. Oliver the Wolf Guy signing out from the Sierra. And with that, I'll turn the camera around for a second. You can watch some fuzzy butts before I sign off. Well, if you wouldn't straddle the rope, little dude. This guy's so fuzzy, he looks like he licked an electric socket.